Demand canoes and wooden shoes for everyone. Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 344 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on April the 11th, 2022. As always, my name's Andrew, and I'll be your host.
We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Sure you're not a communist, and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and depth. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to my favorite segment, which we are modifying slightly. It's called What Are You Drinking? And How Are You Being a Better Person? And those may or may not be related. We're going to go, we'll go clockwise on my screen, starting with Liz. Liz, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking, it's a nude vodka soda. Yeah, it's pretty good. Black cherry flavored. And what am I doing? Yeah, it's good. It's tasty. And what am I doing to be a better person? Is that the next part of that?
Yeah.
Yes, rather than reading off the entire Patriot Challenge, what part of the Patriot Challenge have you recently completed that you're proud of?
Oh, I've gotten into a better book reading habit. I downloaded an app on my phone. Keeps track of it. Finished a book yesterday.
What's
I like
the app
getting
called,
my
and
gold
can we get a
stars.
referral code?
I don't think so.
No, okay. It was worth a try.
Yeah,
I know Gavin has a little gold star app on his phone.
Yeah, mine's called Read More. It really just like tracks what you're reading. It doesn't do anything jazzy.
Sounds like
It's
the
okay.
government.
Reading is good. Gavin,
free
what about
download.
you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking some White Claw raspberries this evening to go with my flamboyant t-shirt.
That explains the shirt. That shirt is so loud I can hear it from here.
Yeah, it goes great with short shorts, which I'm also wearing, but you can't see those because it's a podcast. And the thing that I did to better myself and my life, aside from wearing this flamboyant shirt and short shorts, I did my reading today, some 400 or something days in a row of more than 30 minutes or whatnot a day. I drank my 2 liters of water, and that's all I've got to so far today. But like 2 out of 5 ain't bad.
It's more than everybody else. I guess that's me. I am drinking Royal City Brewing Company's Exhibition IPA. It is a hop-forward session ale. It is not my favorite. It's all right.
It's just all right.
It's all right. I mean, I'm not a fan. It's trying to do too much, but that's okay. So am I. Because I finished week 12 of the 12-week Rucking Challenge yesterday. I am the first person on the scoreboard to have finished week 12. And I hope that means I did well.
Well,
There's definitely more than 45 minutes of exercise and more than 2 liters of water.
if you can't be the best, be the first, right?
I think that's the saying. Pierre, what are you drinking?
Whiskey and potentially cold shots.
Nice.
Yes.
And to be a better person?
I talked to a random person when I was out for my
Nice.
ruck. Yeah, I was out for my ruck and I was wearing my weighted vest, my bag, multicam. And the car drove past me, and on the way back, the guy.
So the police. Pierre's describing an encounter with the police.
No, it wasn't the police. It was just this random person that's lived in this little town pretty much as long as I have, and I've never bumped into him because I don't like people. But we actually had like a good 20-minute, half-hour conversation, just chit-chatting or whatever. So we might have a new listener at some point. But hey, he seemed like an alright guy. So I was nice to people. So that's my
There you go.
15 of the day.
Congratulations to you.
I mean, improve your fighting position. I like it. Pierre may have made a friend.
Yeah.
All right. Benny, what about you?
I'm drinking a Honey Red again this tonight. And 2 weeks ago, I practiced soldering copper pipe, and last week I made a shot shell crimp cutter. So practicing skills.
Well, there you go.
All right.
And how are you doing on the NSC Ruck Challenge, Benny?
Not great. I'm not going to lie. The fear of having the cops called on me because I'm wearing multicam body armor in the middle of London is a thing.
You don't have to do that, right? You
And
can't.
it doesn't
just
have to
a
be
backpack.
multicam.
Yeah.
It's the
No.
easiest way to carry the 20 of the 25 to 30 pounds that I have to carry. So, whatever. No, it's more of I just things are up in the air right now. So getting out there and doing it is the challenge right now. So if you guys are finishing the challenge, I'm probably going to start it late. So yeah.
I mean, doing a thing is important, and this is the only event that I'm going to talk about because it's relevant to this week, because this is the last week of the 12-week rucking challenge. New Shooter Canada, formerly Benny's favorite podcast, now Benny's second favorite podcast, threw down I shouldn't say that, gingerly placed, delicately assaulted us with the gauntlet.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've crushed them.
Well, I mean, that's just what we do, right?
In like a very competitive, loving kind of a way, because I really do like the people on New Shooter Canada.
Yeah.
But I don't know who came up with the Big Giant spreadsheet, but it is predominantly the Big Giant CPP spreadsheet, predominantly of CPP listeners.
Well, I started it, and then other Andrew had the autism, and I think you've contributed some autism as well, because we like metrics, because without metrics, how do you prove it?
I mean, that's a very valid point. Listener feedback?
Yeah, I can do some listener feedback.
All right, we are into the main well, I shouldn't say the main topic of the show, but we've finished all the housekeeping in less than 5 minutes, and I want to get that out of the way before Gavin starts reading the email.
Yeah. So first off, we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. If you do that, we're going to read it. That being said, regarding CPP 341, gentlemen and lady, I really want to like your podcast, but a couple of observations. No offense intended here. I really want Canadian content to succeed. Microphone quality is very inconsistent among the group. I found myself constantly adjusting the volume to try and hear what some of the hosts were saying. One gentleman in particular was very clear and did the majority of the talking. Andrew, I struggle with the rest of the voices. Poor Liz, the lone female voice, and the men can't help but interrupt her every, all capitals, time she speaks. And lastly, I waited patiently for the main subject, but at about 19-minute mark, I gave up. Perhaps start strong with the subject line, in this case, the OIC, and save the in-jokes and other content new listeners can't follow easily for the end. All the best, SB.
Sounds
So
like I have a fan.
I was just going to say, every time
I don't know. I don't think they've heard enough from you.
interrupted Liz is because she made a really good point that I just couldn't let go and missed the opportunity by perhaps forgetting my comment that I had to interject it at that time.
It's okay,
I don't know
guys.
if that
We'll just
Here
start
we are.
raising our hands. Just start raising your hand.
There's a
It's
Zoom
not
button for
Zoom
that and
call.
everything.
God, please don't.
You know what's
Also-
cool about Zoom though? You can like respond. I've done it a couple of times where I clap.
It's true. There is a clap button.
There's a clap button.
You can get the clap from Zoom.
I thought that's so that you can clap back. I hear that's
Is
what
that-
the kids do on the internet these
I'm
days.
pretty sure there's penicillin for it in any event.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to get the clap back. That's yeah. But I think, I mean, we're all trying to do better and about not talking all over each other, but we are bad for that all the time because alcohol. And Liz will just get better at yelling over top of us as time goes on as well, I think.
The other
It's possible.
problem that we've had over the years with this is people's internet can be a little bit variable, and
Yeah.
especially rural people, of which many of our contributors do prefer to live outside of the shitty. We do occasionally have some latency issues as a result. The trade-off for not being near people is also sometimes the internet is a little slow. It takes a minute for the
It's
pigeons.
fair.
We will all
I mean, it
endeavor to do better.
it took 11 weeks of me walking around for someone to stop and chat with me. So I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. And the number 6 of the Patriot Challenge will now be to not talk over Liz. That's
I don't know. I feel like I usually do a pretty good job of letting everybody get their very drunken points. I mean, remember the times we've had Matt on?
times. Good
I was
times.
not there for that, but I heard those and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I let him say his piece because I have never removed anyone from the show. Someone in listener feedback is watching the show with a Chinese machine gun. I am so proud right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to the guy with the Chinese machine gun.
Yep.
That's
But-
it. That's
All
a
right.
CBC machine gun, right?
It's only got 5 rounds.
Looks like a banana clip. I mean,
I
I
like
can't see
machine
anything
guns.
because I've been drinking.
that's
As-
As we all have
Yep.
CSIS members that are listening.
yes. Yeah, and as usual, welcome to the show for all of the CSIS agents. I am
Yeah.
sorry about the floors of your office.
And for rearranging the order of things. But I gotta say one thing, like, thank you for your feedback. Yes, we're always trying to make the show better. However, if we didn't have all of that preamble at the beginning, you wouldn't have known what email to send us feedback to complain.
It's true. We have tried to rearrange things, and we spent several minutes today adjusting people's microphones, and
I got a
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah.
Liz did go out of her way to get a new microphone. That's very
Yeah.
true.
So we'll definitely have to speak over her so that you can't.
That's right.
Listen,
Well,
bro. I'm getting my way. I'll eat my grapes right into this if you're not careful.
It could be like on like
I felt like I was inside of Liz's mouth. Well, that sounds wrong.
No, not okay.
Take it
Not
back.
Not that, yeah.
I take it back.
How much have you
Not
been
that kind of
drinking,
charge, not
Andrew?
gonna
Too much or not enough, but
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
please, not so close to the microphone. I don't know if I could.
HR is going to be pissed in the morning.
But we could do that
Man,
thing like they did on
I
like
am-
Home Improvement with Wilson, where you never see his face. Now that Liz has a fancy microphone, we just never hear her voice, and it just becomes a running gag, and it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have a running gag that I really enjoy, but we could have a second one.
Yeah.
So we appreciate the feedback. We've made some adjustments. We'll continue to make adjustments. I mean, it's only 400 episodes. I guess we're not quite there yet. 340 episodes. Eventually, we'll get the hang of it.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
in time for us to all be old and die.
Yeah, or the black helicopters finally do show up. In
Yeah.
which case,
Yeah,
say
same,
hello to your
but
CSIS
different.
agent. We'll see you in the gulag.
Yeah. Be nice to finally meet them face to face, though.
Is it really?
No.
I don't ever need to.
I mean, speaking from experience, it's nothing special.
You're gonna have to tell me that story sometime because I keep
Yeah,
on
that's
hearing
not a thing we put on the
reference to
internet,
it,
but yes. Yes, that's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good.
I won't dox the CSIS agents live on the internet because the CSIS agents do technically know where I live. Sort of.
Sounds like you need to. I was gonna say, sounds like you need to move.
Now. Now. Yeah.
Not really. I feel very safe at the moment, but that again, we'll not put those things on the internet, and we'll try to avoid in jokes in the opening of the show because that
Yeah.
upsets the listeners.
We've
Who's,
at least waited
who's
15
honking?
minutes. Yeah.
Who's
Who's
honking?
what?
I'll read it.
Perfect. Thank you, Benny.
Honk everywhere. Hey panel, just finished listening to the Honk Everywhere episode. I have an anecdote regarding CAF recruiting. An acquaintance of mine is a captain in the Canadian Army and is charged with heading one of the recruiting programs. One of the things that they have been tasked with is hiring more visible minorities and immigrants. From his own admission, these people are coming to this country and are usually fleeing an oppressive regime or a war or similar situation. They have come to Canada to better their life, and the last thing they want to do is have their children enroll in the military. Combined with the leftist popular view, it is no wonder there are recruiting issues. Love the podcast panel and keep up the good work. Best regards, Eric.
And I want to thank Eric for taking the time
Just-
to write that in so that we can discuss it on the show before I had to bribe him with beer and chicken wings next week when I see him for beer and chicken wings. 'Cause I'm sure we would have discussed this because this is a Unfortunately, well, fortunately, I don't know. I also have a friend who is an officer in the CAF recruiting program, and anecdotally, I understand these things to be true. There is an unwritten rule about hiring visible minorities because we're trying to build our new, more inclusive Canadian forces.
Yeah.
So I feel
Definitely
like-
think. Sorry, go ahead, Benny.
No, talk over Liz.
Talk over
No,
you.
no. We gotta let
She's
that
waiting
go.
for you to talk so she
After
can
you.
talk over
After you.
Oh gosh,
No,
I feel
you.
like the queen
No,
now.
you go first.
I think he did a really good. I think he put the point across really well. I wonder what the numbers actually are, but the push to have Canada be this considered a sanctuary country where we accept all the ragged and refugees of the
Sorry.
world.
Oh, ragged. I thought. Never mind.
I don't know what you misheard, but let's move on.
You can't say that.
So I was about to admonish Benny, but carry on.
No. From all these war torn, I wonder what the people who are in dire straits moving to Canada versus people who are not. And if the picture that our government is pushing forward is that we are accepting a lot more people who are in dire straits and are coming from places where they fit the description that has been painted for us in this email. And if that's the case, then yeah, immigrants and minorities aren't going to want to join the CAF because that represents everything they're running from.
I think it's pretty interesting, though, that we have this pretty big assumption that we kind of have the right to dictate their interest. We've kind of been like, oh, because it's not just the CAF that is doing this. A lot of workplaces have the same ideology, right? Where it's like, oh, gotta get that, you see it pretty often in policing, and I'm just making a blanket statement, but you do see that kind of happen a little bit more in certain big companies. And it's just, I find it really kind of dumbfounding that we assume that they even want to do that. Like they're coming here, yeah, maybe because of an oppressive regime, but a lot of folks are coming here either highly educated or learning a specialized skill and have zero desire to do anything other than that skill. Like it's a dumb idea.
I agree 100%. Like, there's a lot of assumptions about a lot of things. Like, and nobody gets offended more than uppity white bitches. Like, I
mean, that's true.
Like minorities and everything certainly have some legitimate grievances, but a lot of the time they're just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm just going about my life. But then you get like basic bitches in their Uggs, eating their avocado toast and everything that are like more offended than the people that are supposed to be offended, who aren't actually offended at all by a lot of the things. You're like, they're the ones that are making all these stupid decisions and like, yeah, government jobs.
This is like woke leftism being rampant, though. This is not this is not necessarily a CAF problem. This is just like a woke leftism being woke leftism, because there's a bunch of people. And I mean, like, maybe I got to get out my gay Nazi books. Where's the Jack Donovan books? But like, these people need some tribe and some people to care about, because like they're trying to fix the whole world's problem without fixing their own.
Yeah.
So
Liz, please, the listeners can't hear you raise your hand. It's funny for me on video, but like no one it's a podcast, you see.
It's a podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, they should just come on.
But most people
8:30 on
download
Monday.
the audio and listen to it. We do YouTube because it's a whole other marketing channel that we have access to, because for some reason we haven't been kicked off yet, which, I mean, if that's not proof that I'm not a Nazi, I don't know what is.
It's because we're drinking. And now you have a white female, so they can't, I guess.
Yeah, but that, in terms of like the victim hierarchy, that's only one step above
That's true.
us,
That's true.
white men.
But I mean, it's still a step.
We had a whole show where it was nothing but women.
It's true. We've never done it again.
Terrible.
I mean, not for we did have a ladies' night when Gavin and I were unavailable.
That's funny.
I am totally open to doing it again, because like we've had this rule: anybody can be on the panel. I've never had to kick anybody off, and we've had a reasonable number of like long-term-ish contributors over the How long have we been doing this now, Gavin? 4 years? 5
I
years?
don't know.
5
How long have we
years?
been living under a tyrannical government?
344 weeks
Yeah.
minimum.
Well, but it's not, because there's been weeks where we've doubled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but have you
then
missed
there's been a
it?
few-
Missed a week.
Yeah, we've missed
Yeah,
a
but
few
have
as
you
well.
missed weeks? Right?
Okay,
Yes.
anyways,
So-
moving on.
Sorry.
Anyway, bring back ladies' night. Absolutely.
Oh, there you go.
Liz is in charge
Different.
of,
Okay.
and
but
then after that we can have all of the other genders' nights.
Oh,
That's
that's
it.
complicated.
That's at least a
Well,
year.
it would
and
be a
half's worth
scheduling
of
problem,
work.
but like,
Right.
Yeah, because what happens if it changes in between scheduling and actually going live?
we reschedule
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
We
Just keep-
we
we do the
reassign
government
it.
We'll do the government
Reassign
thing
it.
and just keep
We
keep kicking that
reassign
can
it.
down the road a little bit longer.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, back to what we were actually talking about before that fun little bunny trail. What you were talking about actually plays exactly into the concept that was spoken about. I don't remember the guy's name, but it's that mass formation psychosis where people want to virtue signal on behalf of somebody else because they have this desire for purpose, right? So if they can get enough people together along a path of least resistance, right? They're going down that path, and that path is like, it's a virtuous, I guess, crusade, even if those who are supposed to benefit from that crusade maybe don't
Yeah.
want the advocacy.
Yeah,
Right.
or it doesn't help them at all, like
No.
wearing a pink shirt on anti-bullying days or wearing a safety pin on your jacket so people know that you're a safe space. Because like you do those things, but how is that actually doing anything? I mean, sure, like it raises awareness, but like when your entire school has got pink shirts on and safety pins, including the bullies, how is that helping anybody, right?
Exactly. And I think
So,
that application right there, though, could be translated into pretty much everything, every principle that anybody has. Like if you're not happy with the current government, what are you doing about it? Are you educating people? Are you discussing it? I think we talked about this last week. Benny's running for something.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just complaining about it on the internet. That's how I'm
Oh.
getting. That's what I'm doing for it.
Okay. I thought you were
Yeah.
getting
Which
run
is
for
still a step
office.
above what other people are doing. But Benny for office, whatever office that is, doesn't matter. But Benny for office.
I'd vote for
Yeah.
you, Benny.
would
I know,
too.
but I'm pretty sure we already established I'm unelectable.
You're far more electable than I think anyone else on the panel.
We just
Let's not get carried
I'm
away.
on the panel.
That makes you unelectable. I'm pretty sure my Instagram feed makes me unelectable. It's fine.
Yeah, Benny,
Mine
you
probably
haven't
makes me
been.
electable.
Yeah, you haven't
I
been.
don't post
at-
anything. Everything's been posted by Mel.
There you
I'm gonna
go.
take a picture and put it on there.
You
I
have
don't
you
know how-
already have a media correspondence, Pierre. You're
Yeah,
ready
you-
to go.
Yeah.
That
You ready
She
to
can
go?
do the clickety click and the tappity tap, and then everybody does the lickety like. It's awesome.
Please always talk like that, though. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
you'd give Joe Biden a run for his money in terms of like speeches. If
I
you
didn't
use
put enough
clickety
goat
clicks and
mushroom in
tappity
that
taps.
conversation.
Okay, it'd just be
So,
really
I
funny.
mean, okay, so we've all been drinking for a little bit since Gavin read this email. I didn't see it previously, so I figured out how we can solve this whole problem.
Okay.
I think we should just start. People apply for a job, and you get qualified people to look at the resume. Never meet the person. You get a third party to do the interview, and a third party that is really good at giving the feedback that this panel would want. And you never get to know
Wait,
whether they're white,
This
black,
panel
yellow,
or the
purple.
panel that's doing the hire? Because if I'm in charge of hiring, I have some.
I have done so
whatever,
many
right?
interviews in my life.
So you want to hire someone to be a police officer, right? So you get
Yeah.
a panel of
Hey.
4 police officers that would be good at determining on paper who would be the best candidate, right? Doesn't
Sure.
matter what their race, gender, age, or unicorn
well, you
color
can put
is.
them. You can put them through all of the fiery
Yeah.
hoops. Just assign a number, and then the people that make
Yeah.
that decision. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so
I love
get-
this
pick
idea. And
So you pick the best person qualified for the job. And the person
Yeah,
that
but
hires
we've
them
already
never knows
established-
whether they are white, yellow, purple, black, orange,
They're not
male,
Oompa Loompas.
male, unicorn, or
I don't know.
Yeah.
Police Oompa Loompas sound terrifying. Could we have some?
oh God,
I'm
can
pretty
you
sure
imagine?
Orange Man is bad, so
Oh God! If
I'm
they just
Looking
like all
forward to purple.
So
they just
if we
show up
hire
at your
more,
door in those ugly outfits and the hair, and they're singing while they arrest you. Oh God!
Oh
that
no,
would be
wait.
horrible.
An Oompa Loompa is different. I was thinking of a Teletubby.
yeah, no, I'm thinking Oompa Loompas, right? So I'm just thinking, think about the musical ride with a bunch of really small.
Yeah,
fun
no,
items.
I'm with you now. That's way worse. That's much worse.
The question is though, is like original Oompa Loompas or like new Oompa Loompas?
No,
think
like
that
the
the
Gene
first-
Wilder Oompa
You can't ask
Loompas.
their
Okay.
name. You can't ask their
I just
name.
wanted to make sure
Or
because
their
there are
age,
some people that have been on the panel before, not mentioning any names, Andrew. Not you, other Andrew. That think sometimes
Better
the
Andrew.
remake of a movie is better.
A, we shouldn't get to pick our own nicknames. And B, I don't know that I like that his is qualifying him as like a...
I don't know him as anything
And C,
different
anyone
except
that
for
thinks
Better
that the
Andrew.
remake of Total Recall is better is a moron.
Okay, I
Yeah,
don't-
no,
I don't
the
think I've
remake
watched
of Total
either.
Recall is awful.
So
Yeah.
Pierre, I think that you're
Yeah.
good at making policy and you're in charge of recruiting for the entire Canadian government now.
Pierre for office.
Pierre, hire
Whoa.
no one.
Slash
Oh,
it,
buddy, you
slash
know what we're
it,
hiring,
slash.
No. So
What?
this is how you fix government.
Pierre's like,
You
I know
get-
this
yeah,
one
no.
guy, I met him
Yeah.
recently. He sounds great.
Yeah. No, we're not getting into that tonight. We've got other stuff. And
Unpaid
we're already-
interns for everyone.
Yeah. No.
I think the
it's-
intern things is what got a lot of the people in the CAF into problems, though. Maybe we don't give them
Mhm.
interns.
Well, I'm saying we get
Yeah.
rid of all the permanent workers and we just hire.
I mean, I have
Um,
an excellent way that can absolutely increase the diversity in the CAF, or at least make it on par with what our population is. Mandatory service.
Mm.
I mean, there's a lot of things I like about Scandinavian countries, and that's one of them.
Yeah, no, I don't 100% disagree with that.
If
I mean, I'm
you
not
make
saying send them to
everyone
the front
serve,
line, but
yeah, but if you
something.
make everyone serve, then the demographics of the forces will exactly match the population. Just saying.
I do
and-
really
and
like that
how
idea.
many people would?
How many
Right, like-
people what?
Well, then like
No,
the,
but
you
how-
know they can't not do
Come on,
it.
I want to
'cause then-
interrupt Pierre again. How many people would what?
No, but I'm just curious about what the. I'd like to see the statistics on how many people absolutely hated the fact that they had to go do a mandatory service, and once they got in, kind of realized, hey,
No,
hey,
it-
this isn't that bad, and actually would have never joined and ended up being a
Hey.
giant.
for
awesome.
everybody that is in favor of mandatory vaccinations, they should also be in favor of mandatory military service.
But the
I don't
question,
know.
to be a dick, the question would be then, if you are not in favor of mandatory vaccinations, should you then not be in favor of mandatory military service?
I feel like this is a slightly apples to orange comparison, but also I really want to embrace my inner Robert Heinlein and be like, if you want to vote, I mean,
I don't disagree
service
with that,
guarantees
actually.
citizenship.
But
Yeah.
I'm also a big fan of the idea of like you get a fine if you don't vote. I'm a big fan of that idea.
I would actually prefer that most people didn't vote because most people are really dumb.
Yeah, I would prefer you have to earn it rather than you get penalized for not doing it.
Yeah.
However, I do
I get
agree
the-
that like if it's given to everyone, you should exercise that because
Yes, I don't. If we had a country that was like actually altruistic and made up of reasonably intelligent people, 100%. But like, have you met the average person?
yeah.
They're terrible, and half of them
the
are
population-
worse.
Yeah, that's it. Ugh.
Yeah.
But I do think
I've
if we
met a
were
lot
going to
more
do
people than I want to.
if we were
last
going to do
year.
mandatory service, I do like that as
It's
a benchmark for if you wanted to be, I don't know, in office or have franchise or I don't know. There seems like there's a lot of opportunities to cut down on the bureaucratic dead weight in our government organizations by saying like they're all just uniform services.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to work at Service Ontario? Great. You get to do the same PT test as somebody joining the army. Oh, you can't do that many push-ups? Well, good luck collecting welfare or whatever because you're not getting a government job.
Is that like, is there like a big PT requirement in countries that already have mandatory? Like Benny, do you know
I
what
don't
the
think that
IDF
it's
So the IDF, if you are a we'll call them jobniks because that's what they call them in Hebrew. Basically, a desk jockey. You don't have any PT. That's not a requirement. You go for your quote unquote basic, which is like a week or maybe 2 weeks. You shoot maybe 3 bullets, and then you go to your desk job. That's if you join the military. They also have national service. So if you want to work in a hospital, in like bunch of museum type situations, or in my mind, like, hey, all the people who hate the DMV, if you have a bunch of people there who are there for like 2 years and then they're off to university or whatever, that might improve it. I don't know, but I was actually just looking up the numbers. But not everyone in Israel does serve. There are people who get out for whatever reasons.
Well, you could get out because of schooling and some other things, right? Like that are
yeah.
But like, and service is not just military, as you're saying, it's other stuff, like government stuff, or like, which I think is a
government service.
I knew a girl
But
who worked
it's
for
service.
what's called the Temple Institute, and she was a tour guide. That's what she did
like,
for her national service.
I would be fine. Like, you don't
I'm
have
not
to like
opposed to that.
get shot at, but yeah, like if your mandatory service is you have to go do 2 years at the DMV, that's hell on earth. But hey, you did it.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to a government service that is actually a service in the same way that the military is a service. If you're going to, like, I don't know, join the Peace Corps or whatever, or be a woofer and go farm and live in dirt. Benny's looking at me all confused.
what's a woofer?
It's
like
workers on organic farms.
I have
So you,
two,
like,
they're upstairs.
You sign up to go, like, live on a farm and you grow stuff for a while, but you don't really get paid. It's like a co-op kind of a thing.
Okay.
And a subwoofer would be someone that's smaller that does it.
Sounds like my childhood.
I'm not saying that we have to strictly limit this to military service is my point.
Yeah,
and that's a great way to get a lot of those nuisance jobs that nobody wants to do done.
Right. Which, I mean, and that's the way that we've done a lot of really interesting projects in this country throughout the foundation of our country. Like, all of the forestry stuff that was all done after World War II was all done by people that were being paid very minimal wages as literal make work projects. But as a result, we can monitor forest fires now, and that's kind of cool.
And shit got done.
And people learned a bunch of skills because they learned how to do construction and to read and write and be literate and to manage their meager amount of finances because a bunch of training was provided.
And we still do things like that with like the tree planting programs for, kids and stuff like that. So we do provide some opportunity where they actually have to go out and do some work that is a service to their community or like the greater community in the nation. Because all that stuff's important. Yeah, make it mandatory. I mean, all the schools now, like on Ontario anyways, have like mandatory like community service. Now, the things you can get away with as community service, or I don't think are community service. And like, that certainly wasn't a thing when I was in school, but
that's because the educational system has declined so bad that they have to have something easy for people to do to get a certain amount of credits to justify passing them.
And I think this is the problem, was where you come with like, what's the intent of the thing and how is it actually enforced? Because like the idea is brilliant. Like, if you want to get through school, you have to do something for your community. Is a great idea. But when it's like, oh, I worked at the local bingo hall because it's charity, it's like, yeah, that doesn't count. That's not a community service, bud.
But have you ever been at the bingo hall and had 20 grandmas call you a cutie pie?
I allegedly got my first tattoo because I won money at the bingo hall. Underage.
So the bingo hall, honestly, if anybody wants a really fun night out, my girlfriends and I went to the bingo hall. So much fun.
I haven't been in years, but it is a lot of fun.
And so cheap.
Oh, yeah. Cheap. And if you like people watching.
Yeah, not wrong.
The local one near me where I used to go, it was back when you were still allowed to smoke inside, although they had a smoking and no smoking section. And they basically just put a glass.
So it was like wall. Smoking and less smoking?
Yeah, so they put a glass wall up to divide the thing. But like, because the whole place used to be smoking, you kind of look up in the no smoking section and look at like those drop ceiling tiles, and they were yellow. But then in the smoking section, they were brown. And you're like, man, these both used to be white at one point. That is a lot of smoking that was going on in this room. But yeah.
It's the same philosophy as people that are like, hey, these plastic partitions and masks are going to keep COVID out.
Yeah.
Same people making those calls.
Yeah.
Trying to tell me that that's not true.
Trying to tell you that there's a lot of things not true. Also, on the same note of this mandatory stuff, as cool as it is, and as much as that would be a pretty cool idea, it kind of makes me nervous making anything mandatory, because somewhere along the way, somebody is deciding these rules. And I don't trust the rule
Well,
makers.
This goes back to my whole like original point of
Yeah.
like, if we were in a
Starship
real
Troopers.
country that was like altruistic and run by competent people, but also I recognize that we live in reality and people are not
Fine.
altruistic or competent.
Right.
If
And
we were-
again, define competent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is if we were in a more homogenous society, whatever
Pierre
that
was
looks like.
Pierre was in charge. I'm saying if Pierre was in charge.
And yeah, but yeah, more homogenous means more high trust and all similar values and everything else, whatever those values may be. And then we could have something that is mandatory because it would be more widely accepted and actually probably fit in line with the vast majority of people's thing. But that's why the Starship Troopers model is better, because it's not mandatory, it's voluntary. But if you want to get the benefits
It's
of it, like
voluntary with
voting,
rewards.
Yeah. So, and that isn't a bad
You have to
idea at all.
earn that franchise. So like for the
Yeah.
people that don't want to do the thing, they don't have to do the thing. But also you're not going to get the perks. And then that also then
But I think part of that plays
ensures
into
that
like
the people that make the decisions have been through the
That's-
thing.
right. So you don't
Yeah.
have a bunch of grumpy old men that are heavily invested in like Northrop Grumman or what are the other like big defense firms? I can't think of any examples right now. But like
Bombardier?
the defense firms, not terrible companies that are sucking up government tax dollars.
Well, whatever.
Like
the ones that-
Raytheon or Boeing or Northrop Grumman or like
Lockheed Martin and all those.
Lockheed Martin.
like,
That's
yeah.
a great example. Thank you. You don't have like a bunch of government officials that are heavily invested into those being like, you know what we need to do? A war. Because like war is good for business.
Currently
Right? So,
doesn't
like,
like each other. I know.
Yeah, so-
the Ukraine and Russia. Let's get
As-
them
Right.
fighting. Yeah.
As the conservative, fiscally conservative person, the cost of such a program would be astronomical. To
the cost of putting everybody into the military?
yes,
No.
I don't see that as being a problem.
Guess
We
what?
just stop giving all the money to other countries because we have a 500 million or 500 billion. What's the
But that's
deficit? It's
the-
later in
we
the
all
that's
know
the
that's
thing,
not how
though.
that works.
You're assuming that
Yeah.
everybody wants to go into the military. That they won't.
No,
$53 billion deficit. What's a couple more? Because we're not even at
You know
2% GDP on spending for the military right now.
I have an even
I
better
couldn't
fucking
find the article
idea.
recently. I couldn't find the article now, but there was an article that came out shortly after the lockdowns in Israel, and how the military there is sort of turned into a welfare program, as hundreds of soldiers were sent home and didn't have to go back to work because their job wasn't
I mean,
actually.
The military is kind of a welfare program, but it's also the best form of socialism because everybody gets treated like shit, but at least you're all equal.
No, but I don't have a problem with that welfare program because at the end of the day, they're doing fucking something.
Well, as
There
long as
is
they're
this-
doing something and they're not just sent home to do nothing.
Yeah,
'cause
Well,
exactly.
and-
So I'm like, let's cut out welfare, a bunch of support programs. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand that sometimes, welfare, ODSP,
slash
social
it,
assistance,
slash it,
whatever,
slash
right?
it.
Yes, is needed, right? But like, okay, fine. You fell on hard times. You're having a hard time finding a job. Okay, fine.
But
Here's
it's
a little
needed
bit of
because of
money.
that whole
So you
like
don't have to
earlier
worry
point about the lack
taking
of.
the first-
Go ahead. I'll
No.
interrupt in a minute.
Okay, so you don't, here's okay, you fell on hard times, this, that, your original career is now no longer needed because, bread comes pre-sliced, so you don't have to make sliced bread for people. Okay, fine. You've got a little bit of time. You're pretty good with the knife. There's a bunch of other jobs that require people to be good with the knife and making straight lines. So, you don't have to worry about, are you going to be able to eat tonight, tomorrow, next week, or your rent for a very small time, as long as you're doing some work to try and find something. to be able to supplement your income or replace your income, whatever you want to call it. But people that just abuse the fucking system, like, no, I have a fucking problem with that. You know, people that are on welfare, you know, 8 people get the same paycheck at the same address. But because they're not white, right, we're not going to question that, right? So you have 8 people living in one house or apartment or whatever you want to call it, that all collect $2,000 a month, and it's subsidized rent. So they're only paying $400. So you have, let's say 10 people at $2,000, that's 20 or $1,000. That's $10,000, and they pay $400 in rent. Okay, show me fucking receipts for the rest of your shit.
I take your point, but I think my bigger problem is, like, this comes back to what Gavin had said earlier, is that if we had a homogenous society where we were able to have higher standards of trust, and to my point, where we had less government involvement, we wouldn't need to have all of these welfare programs, because, like, if my brother was out of work, I would just be able to be like, hey, he's family, I can come and take care of him, and he doesn't need, because we don't need the government welfare programs. But when the government takes half my salary, I don't have money left over for that sort of charity.
Well, exactly. And if we had a stronger local community, even if we were less homogenous, but having a stronger community that is more diverse, because we have that strong community ties, we would be more willing to help out the local community that would help buffer these people that are on hard times.
So
Right.
I 100% agree with the idea of, like, us living in a world of small communities and small government. That makes the most sense to me. A little bit of self-regulation.
Yeah.
I think where people get sidetracked and a little bit railed on this is that, number one, we're not talking about racial differences. That doesn't really matter. It's about, like, where your head and your heart are at. I want to be around people that value the things that I value. And yeah, sure, like, come up against me and challenge me. That's awesome. Fine, you know, like, work through that.
Absolutely. And I agree. It's more about that stuff. But even if some community wants to be racially motivated or religiously motivated or
In-group preferences are a thing.
or gender motivated, they want to have a community that's just women or just men.
Can I live in the community of just women? That sounds, actually,
Depends.
I was about to say, that sounds great. I started to put,
It's really
I decided
good
maybe it
3
doesn't.
out of 4 weeks of the month. The other one, not so much.
All I'm
Ours
saying,
are so
Andrew,
backwards. It's unbelievable.
so just imagine trying to figure out what's for supper, Andrew, if you're only living in a community with women.
Just don't ask them where you're going. I've learned a trick for that one.
Ask
You say,
them
we're going. Where do you think
Yeah.
we're going? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a
I
terrible.
can see that
email joke.
backfiring really fast.
But no, but even if you wanted to have a community that is very homogenous, like it is racially homogenous or religiously homogenous, if you don't agree with that, you don't trade with them, you don't do anything with them, you don't allow them into your community. You go,
you give
hey,
Raytheon a lot of money, you buy missiles, and you bomb them.
exactly.
Is that?
No, you just don't let them.
No, you don't do that?
So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
but that's an interesting topic, though, because I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about that, is that you're allowed to have tribalism that is exclusive. Okay.
Yeah.
We see that in the world. You know, you have subcultures, like
People
even
that listen to good podcasts and people that don't listen to us.
absolutely.
Have you ever been to any other country outside of North America?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
outside of Canada and
Try-
America? If you go to Mexico,
try-
they're
Well-
Absolutely, they're racist.
Well, but I
Yes.
mean, it's not
But
even
always
it's not
a
even
bad
that.
thing. It's just that they support their local people.
Right. So I think that everybody has a tad of ethnocentrism in their, like,
Absolutely.
whatever. But
Yeah.
and I'm saying that that's absolutely fine. And even if you don't agree with some of it, this is what gets us on lists, by the way, conversations like this. But even if you don't
But these
agree
are the
with
best
it,
conversations.
I know, because people won't talk about it, right? You know, like you can have people like that are part of clubs or movements or things like that that are extremely exclusive, potentially, or very overtly discriminatory and separatist. But then other groups that aren't like that, I don't have to agree with every group, but I have to agree that they maybe have the right, as long as they're not damaging a lot of human beings. Like they
Yeah,
have the
this is-
right to exist in that
Well,
sphere, right?
So this
I'm
is part of
pretty
the
sure
thing. Is
the
I
Boy
would rather.
Scouts-
3 of you are
Go ahead.
talking at once.
No,
Yeah,
actually
and I'm
started
gonna
before me.
because Liz finished, so now I'm talking over people. That's how this works. Go ahead, Benny.
Okay.
No, I was just gonna say and it doesn't necessarily have to be like it's my group and you are excluded. It's that this is a group for people like this. Boy
Yeah.
Scouts
I
is
am
meant for
all
boys. It's
No,
like wrong
I-
with women, and they have the Girl Scouts, but it's come to a point where it's like they've actually gone back around now, where you have to have.
When are they going to
space
have
for-
the other 72 kinds of scouts?
No, I am all for groups excluding people. Like
Yeah.
for
Yeah, I'm with
whatever-
Gavin on this. I would actually much rather be in an exclusive group rather than a group that lets anyone in, because I don't want to be
Yeah.
in a group with most people. Because again, most people are pretty terrible.
Well, like
Right,
let
but,
me.
but my point is that it's not that we don't want girls in our group. It's that it's a
No,
group
no.
for boys.
Well, but
As an example,
exactly.
as an
But that's
example.
that's
Yeah.
the thing though, is that like,
Well,
but
but
there's
this-
nothing wrong with going. Okay, so
I
like
would
you think
rather
you're a
be-
thing. Like, no, you can't be part of it. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person or you're less than us. You're just not part of this group. You can go have your group right there.
A perfect example, I think, in my opinion, and I'm talking now, so but
Liz has the
Very
talking
good.
stick.
Okay,
No one
let-
interrupt.
let-
Let me
Everybody
mute my
else.
mic just in case. Yeah.
Show them the talking stick.
I have a highlighter. There you go. Anyways, so a good example, we have a women's only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, and most dojos do have them. And it's not because we're like, hey, dudes out, like every other class is co-ed, but it's because, you know, there's certain like barriers that sometimes women who are doing a combat or, you know, a little bit more of an aggressive sport have to overcome before they feel comfortable doing something like that with
Yeah, but the
other
second,
people, right?
right? And that's not wrong, but there should
That's what I'm
also
saying.
be, but there should also be an all males class for the exact same reason.
Yeah,
That there is that
no,
person that
dude.
feels uncomfortable.
Depending in your
Right, there's a
depending
guy
on your
that feels
community, those
uncomfortable
exist.
that you gotta grapple with a
Yeah,
female that, you know, okay, well, I'm gonna try this move and I accidentally grab your boob, right? And now,
That
okay,
happens
well, what,
often
right?
anyway.
Pierre, Pierre's
Right.
not welcome at BJJ.
Right, but so right, so I don't disagree. Like
No.
girls want to do that with girls, fine, but
Yeah.
like until there's a point where, you know, well, this is a guys only class. Well, that's considered
Well,
sexist
so-
and misogynistic.
But so
But
that's
an
the
only
problem. It's
girls
not
thing is
necessarily that
perfectly
it
fine.
needs
You're
to
empowering
exist.
yourself.
It's
Right.
that it can exist if there's a need for it. Is
Right,
the
and-
problem.
I would say that that's the argument because I don't disagree with you, Pierre. And Benny even mentioned that, you know, depending on where you're going, that is a thing, right? Because there's certain, you know, religious or. Can you
Well,
guys
I mean,
hear me?
I'm gonna just come right
Oh, okay.
and,
I was like,
and say it
right,
like
Benny's group.
it is very difficult for someone to convert to become a Jew. You don't make it easy. You don't accept people in like other religions. So
Right.
it's not that you don't, it's just that it's like, okay,
You
sure.
don't get to your good
you
place
sure
by
you
the
wanna
numbers
do
you bring
this?
in.
and they have to prove it. So like you're not like excluding them forever, but you are excluding them and actively sort of excluding them. So there's
Yeah, it's
nothing
like that.
wrong with that. They have to prove to you that they want to do the thing to be part of the group and be accepted as a group. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I wish that more groups would fucking do that because that's what we need.
Well, I think it's everybody just like really tries hard to
And then
make everybody feel like they're equal instead of celebrating the fact that we're all different humans. Like, you know,
and
Pierre,
different
going
doesn't
back,
mean
it
unequal.
does not mean, I know it doesn't. It just means different. But Pierre, like you were saying, let me tell you, a lot of guys, when they're doing jujitsu, they will roll with other guys only because that's a tougher role. That's a super aggressive role. It gets things going that like no girl even really wants a part of anyway, because you're going to be broken in half, literally. Right. So that's
Depending on the situation. Yeah. It's
like you're allowed to be okay with that kind of thing. Right. And I think that folks just what you were saying, Gavin, people don't actually look at difference plus is equal to equality, I guess, right? Like
Well,
you're
exactly.
equal in your differences. That's okay.
Some
You,
like
you can be
different,
equal as long as you're not white and you're not a man.
pretty much. But,
Which
like,
is,
what's the-
that's really sad. That's really sad. Because now, just because you guys are, okay, and it doesn't help that Gavin's wearing a really flamboyant shirt and camo, but you know,
I like
he's
to
got-
make everyone confused. Yeah.
right. But I mean, the beards, you guys, the fact that you guys all shoot guns, you guys are pretty much like the worst of the worst white men. And you know,
I try. I do what I can.
there you go. But like that really sucks. Cause you know what? There's some pretty like white collar looking dudes that are skeezy as all get out.
Well, and
You
this
know?
is like
You didn't see
my
any
pro-
camo in Wolf of Wall Street. Not that I watched the
Yeah.
movie, but I can assume.
No. Right?
But this is the problem
Oh,
is
man,
that like
who was the girl in that? Was that Margot Robbie?
I didn't
maybe,
watch it.
don't know.
Don't know.
I haven't watched it either. But this is
Wolf
the
of Wall
problem. Like
Street?
you get
Yeah, no, it's well worth watching.
I'm listening, Gavin.
no, it's all good.
I'm thinking about Margot Robbie. Go on.
Yeah, now you sidetracked. God damn it. Those tiny shorts. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that one. Give me a minute and then I'll interrupt one of you.
He got distracted by the tiny shorts.
In-group preference is a thing, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just don't be a
Yeah.
dick. Which, I mean, really,
Yeah.
we've talked about this before, and I mean, Gavin used to say this a lot, and he hasn't said it recently, but like, it is a good rule. Don't be a dick.
It
Yeah.
really fits.
Well, where is it?
all
There was a
situations.
bakery that had the thing with the sign where it's "Don't be a dirty cunt." That's an excellent rule.
I feel like
So-
there's
That's
less
good. We're
places you
including
can
more
say
than
that.
one gender.
It's like the way that the Aussies use it. It's an all-inclusive thing.
So
Yes.
But yeah, just be a decent person. Like it's okay to exclude people for whatever reason that you want to exclude it, but realize then that they have the ability to also exclude you from their group, and then don't get butthurt by it. Just be like, okay, like I don't want to be a part of a group that doesn't want me to be part of the group. Like maybe I did, but then the minute that they're like, oh yeah, no, you can't, it's like, okay, great, like I'll go do my own thing. And like the people on this panel, I know a bunch of us have done that, where it's like, okay, if I don't like your thing, I'm going to start my own thing. And we have. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
We've been
stand by my-
strong-armed into that on more than one occasion, Gavin.
well, but I think it's just because it's not even that we strong arm. It's just that we know it's a thing that we want to happen and needs to happen. So we just do the thing because no one else will
No,
do
I
it.
specifically mean matches for Brian's benefit. Brian's
Yeah.
not here to defend himself, so I can say that.
That's fair. But also,
I
like,
still stand by
it's an
my
excuse to
statement.
hang out with our friends and shoot guns and drink
And shoot
alcohol.
guns and do other white man activities.
So I stand by my statement of why it took me 11 weeks of a ruck before I talked to a fucking person. Because people are shitty, and we should unshitty ourselves.
Exactly.
Should
Like, just
where,
being not
where's
being
Tim?
good.
I know, I
Unshitty
missed him.
yourself.
Yeah,
I really
I've
hope that he
never-
gets those fines for those library books paid soon.
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice.
I would.
But no, yeah, just unshitty yourself. Like, understand the fact that you can have an educated conversation with someone and have a difference of opinion, right? This is your point of view, and this is my point of view, and they're different. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's have a conversation about why you think your point of view is better than mine, right? So you tell me your points, and I give you my points. And after an hour-long conversation or a 2-hour conversation and a bottle of whiskey, you know, whether I kind of understand where you're standing and we can still agree to disagree, or one person can be like, I never looked at it from
But-
your point of view, but now I kind of agree with you more than
But
where I
again, like,
originally stood.
People
an
are
hour ago.
crappy, and this is a common thing because we can't have these conversations in a like, not emotionless. That's not the right word for it, but like in a rational way without being like
Yeah.
everybody gets turbo offended and is
Yeah.
just mad at one another and can't have the conversation.
Yeah.
I actually just had that happen to me.
You got turbo offended?
No, I had somebody get super turbo offended at me, and it's a dude that I went to, I don't know, like I grew up in the same town. He doesn't even live there anymore. But he, I don't know, he posted very aggressively on one of my social media posts. And
Oh god, I
One-
love those where you're like, I haven't seen you in 20 years, and you come out of the woodworks and you're just like,
right. And like attacked my character from the launch pad, right? You know, like, oh, I lost so much respect for you when you went to Ottawa, and then you brought the protest to our little town, and just going on. And I pretty much had to say to him, and we kind of came to like a decent, you know, like, because I private messaged him instead of responding, because I'm like, this is garbage. But I was like, first of all, you know, I appreciate that you reached out, but I'm like, I'm not concerned about your opinion on my character. Not like that doesn't do much for me. But I did say that, like, it's important to have opposing views because it really sharpens the edge of your own perspective. Because if you can't defend your own view in dialogue, then like that's how you refine it, right? Because guess what? They might be bringing information to the table as well that's actually going to add to your perspective, that you might say like, oh yeah, I was wrong about that, let's adjust. But you might also like you're going to be pushed to defend it. And this is the part that blows my mind, is that first of all, I've found lately that I can challenge an ideology, but in response, my character will be attacked. I will be personally attacked.
But
not
that's
my
because they don't
ideologies.
have a way to defend that, right?
Absolutely.
Like they don't have a legitimate argument.
Yeah.
And like I agree. It's rare that somebody will change my opinion, because I generally try to have a fairly informed opinion about things. I like to read a lot and do all the things, but that doesn't mean that I've never been wrong. I've been wrong and I will be wrong, and I'm willing to listen to other people and have these conversations. And if they can prove me wrong or change it, I'm willing to admit that. I'm willing to be the bigger person or the lesser person, however you want to see that, and admit that, right? And be like, yeah, you're right, I was wrong in this instance. You know, some of it's like we won't know because time will tell on it, and like this is what I think is going to be right. You know, and in the end, I'll be like, yeah, I guess you're right. Communism was the best. I'll never say that because it won't happen. But like,
this is how you know if Gavin is under duress.
Okay.
but
Speaking.
like, you just you gotta have the converse. You gotta have those conversations, and the more we have it, I think the better off we are, because we'll all learn how to deal with having difficult conversations and realize that we don't have to have the same opinion. Because I do firmly believe that we need to have all people with all opinions be part of the conversation so that we can all be better informed. And to do the cliche thing like steel sharpens steel, you need that equally strong opinion opposite to yours. And it may just like further harden your position, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
In short, people are terrible.
Well, I just think that I think it goes back to the idea of like people don't know how to actually have communication with each other. You know, like
but also,
you can walk away, leave your ego at the door, because you can walk away and say like, hey, sorry, somebody's trying to talk.
No one talk over Liz, goddammit. I
think Pierre's a robot at the moment.
No, I think that Pierre's just a robot, and I'm always interested in what he has to say.
Much.
I'm passing it on to Pierre. I don't know. It's somewhere. Anyway, talking about like weird things to talk about. Are we going to talk about this budget?
I was originally planning to talk mostly about the budget, but at this point, I've really enjoyed this conversation. This is a very meandering Joe Rogan style podcast this evening.
We should just keep rolling with it.
If we talk about MDMA and fighting and maybe elk hunting for a few minutes, just so round things out, we'll be all set.
I can't contribute to most of that.
What about challenging an elk to an MMA match while on MDMA?
I'm pretty sure that it's all in your head.
That he's about? I forget what the drug of. Is it MDMA?
I think
Machine
so.
elves.
He's done ayahuasca. He's done
PCP.
I actually know quite a few people.
That's a programming language.
I know a lot of people that have done ayahuasca, and they're like, it was revolutionary. But here's the gig: if you have anxiety, don't recommend it. It like unlocks things in your brain. Yeah.
There's also a good chance you may vomit uncontrollably or poop yourself.
That is absolutely.
So it's the same thing as if Gavin goes for a really intense hike.
Hey, I didn't puke that much. This
or
would be
poop yourself.
Yeah. We'll wait and see what happens in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, Anyways, if we want to go back to that conversation, I think it's all part of a failure in our educational system that nobody knows how to have good
I
discourse.
don't even know that. I
They
think
don't
that it's
teach
more of
critical
a
thinking or
well,
like
Critical
don't,
thinking.
they don't teach critical thinking, but I don't place the blame entirely on the education system. The education system, the woke leftism thing, bringing this all back around to an hour ago.
Yep.
This is all a failing of our society on the whole because we don't bring people up in a way, and not just in education, but we don't have the communities or types of relationships where people can
Yeah.
have
to
difficult
the smaller
conversations with
communities,
one another
yeah.
because no, but this is part of the problem. It's like,
Yeah.
what are the things you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table? Politics and religion. What are the only things that matter? Politics and religion.
and gun
Truth.
ownership.
Yeah,
I like
part
to
of
make that one
politics.
separate, even though it's political. It's important to me, so it's separate.
Right, but it's one of
Yeah.
one of those things you're not supposed to talk about in polite company, and it's like, well, maybe I don't want to be part of polite company.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
I
mean,
want to be
so-
one of the barbarians. And
But here's
like,
the
not-
thing. In barbaric times, I just cut you off. I'm very sorry. Take a sip of your
I-
drink and you'll forget about it. Oh, there we go.
I have my own talking stick.
Oh, Benny's got one. What's that about?
Calipers.
Started talking
Oh,
too.
Telford. There you go. Well,
Fuck, we all have them. Oh,
I know it's true. You've got the boomsticks in the back though, so that scares me.
Yeah, but Gavin's not allowed to use the boomsticks on YouTube.
if I touch those in a live show,
Oh, Pierre wants to come
Yeah.
back on the show. Will we let Pierre back on the show? I guess we could.
I don't know. Only if he promises to behave himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thoughts about the whole I think they left with my last sip of alcohol. My last thoughts did.
That'll happen. I
My question
think
is,
this,
when did we start? When did grocery stores start hiring someone to go collect the carts in the parking lot?
I don't know that they hire somebody to do that. I just
So-
think it's one of those things that you make the new guy do.
But when did that become a thing?
Oh, okay.
Because people are terrible and they don't return them.
have you
Right,
seen
but-
parking lots?
Or
When
people.
did that become what? When did that be? I feel like there was a time when
Oh.
they didn't have someone
No.
go out and collect the carts.
No, you're right,
No.
because they also had bag boys, right? So
And they just brought them out. So I guess the minute they
Wow,
got rid of the bad
that's a
boys,
gender-loaded term.
no, but it's
I broke Liz. I win.
oh my goodness. I remember what I was gonna say now. The barbaric times. Do you know what the difference is between conversation styles? We're less barbaric now than we were, but do you know what the difference is? I don't
I have
agree with that
I
statement,
have
but-
a great quote that I have used often that I think plays right into this and answers your question.
didn't
Civilized
ask
men
a
are more
question, Gavin.
discourteous than savages because they know they can be impolite without having their skull split.
This
Back
is
in
really
the day, if you were being a dick, you get your face smacked. That doesn't happen no
because
more.
them's fighting words,
So the other
and
side
that
of that
is backed
though,
up with actual violence.
but here's the other thing that people
And
forget.
they also valued life back then.
They did
'Cause,
that, yeah. Because
Eh.
anything,
Well, then because then you have
anything
the
could
whole
take you
gang,
out.
the gang. What's it called?
Bang.
Happens in all the gang violences where it's
Mob
I don't
mentality.
life is so cheap that if you dissed me for I don't know, you looked at me funny, I'm gonna kill you.
That
But-
happened
so-
all the time back then.
But even before that, I'm saying before the 21st century or 20th century, early 20th century, late 19th century, they said all of those things, they did all those aggressive things, but they also had things called manners and expectations
yes.
of how you're just going to communicate, right? You're not just sitting there loading all of your emotional trauma on somebody unless it's behind closed doors where nobody knew
But
about.
manners were reserved for people that were within your social circle and your community. You didn't really
Wow.
have to use those with people that are from your outside group because it didn't matter what they thought about you or what you thought of them, really. It's they weren't part of that thing. So who cares?
I guess I would just say the point that I was trying to make is that the more barbaric time had maybe better communication skills than the more progressive time that we live in now, because we
I-
can't socially interact with people on a good day.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
it's
that's fair,
maybe
but I think
it
there's a
was-
lot more distractions and things too, right? It makes it harder to communicate. And even if you just like
Yeah.
listen to stuff that was recorded 100-ish years ago, because we have audio recordings from the turn of the last century, right? People spoke at a slower cadence,
Yeah.
right? Just like the level of communication is different 100 years ago from today, even though the language hasn't really changed that much.
But I also think there was maybe, in kind of going into what Liz was saying, is that like, I think there were some more established rules about how you conducted yourself amongst your peers.
Well, but this
And
is
there
this,
were-
this is
there
this
were
is what I'm saying. Like the way that
consequences of
people talk
not
to one another
following, yeah.
has changed, and there are certain
Absolutely.
expectations of decorum within your own social strata.
Yes, the physical way in which we communicate is definitely faster than it was. And also the rules in which we do so have changed as well. So there's, I think, a lot of things in play that make people
Well,
just
and-
shittier now.
And people are shitty, and this is part of the other
Yeah.
like this is the other part of the problem, right? Is people are crappy, and we don't have a social stratification. So the lowest lowly person has a level of expectation when they're dealing with like a head of state to be treated with a certain level of decorum, which historically
Yeah.
would not have been expected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know
Did
there
we break
was
Liz? I think we broke Liz.
a big thing on the internets the other day where a bunch of people were complaining because some guy that met with like some union bosses or something was wearing like his gangsta wear, and they're all in business suits, and you get people on both sides of the thing. But I mean, I think that's all part of it, is that like,
I don't know. I mean, dress how you want to be perceived, I guess. But I mean, also like some of the nicest people I ever met look like Hell's Angels, and some of the worst people I ever met look like, well, white suburban soccer moms. But
yeah. But that's where you can play with that and get people to either think that you're one thing but you're really not, or treat you as if you were a thing and not, and everything else. And like, it started to get, confusing because you never really know these days what's what.
well, it used to be that people with neck tattoos were like bad motherfuckers who had done
Yeah.
time in prison, and now people with neck tattoos drink soy
Listen
lattes
to-
and do poetry. So
Yeah. Listen to terrible
it gets
music,
confusing
yeah.
quickly.
Still live in their parents' basement. Yeah.
Well, I
Probably
mean,
'cause
have
they
you seen the
spent all
price
that
of
money
housing?
and neck tattoos? Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. This has been a fun conversation, though. We haven't talked about like events. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about news. We haven't done
Well, a
a
little
bunch
bit
of
of
stuff. But
events. A little about events. The Ruck Challenge. It's
well,
happening.
I did
It's-
touch on
it's
the Ruck
finishing,
Challenge
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So if you haven't done it yet, you should do it.
Oh, finishing. That's funny. We should touch on that maybe. Tune in soon, where Gavin and I review the Veristreleka remote military march.
Yeah.
Maybe if Gavin and I survive, tune in soon to find out.
Yeah. So not next Monday, but the Monday after.
No, that's book club, bro.
Oh, so the Monday after that then. So we're
No,
gonna
what
have to do-
I'm hearing is bonus episode.
Ooh, I like bonus episodes.
Is Andrew and I gonna have a bonus episode where we just talk over each other the whole time?
Yes.
I've been trying to be really cognizant of the talking stick. Okay.
So have I. No, I can talk for days. So
I think most
It's
of us
good.
But
can, which is
apparently,
why we do
I
that.
just have a fan base that likes when I talk. That's the difference.
It's good to have fans. I hope after
have
400
one.
episodes, I will finally have one.
I've met a couple in real life. It's weird. It's super weird.
Like, can I, like, random podcast story? If you've been on the internet long enough in like Canadian gun culture, do you remember Canadian Reload Radio?
No, I came
I-
on after that.
I once met the host from Southern Ontario at a Tim Hortons drive-thru, and he did not have a Sharpie to give me an autograph with, and I berated him for it.
Those bastards. I no one's asked me for an autograph though.
Because, like, I'm like, I know you. I listen to your podcast. He's like, what? Unfortunately, I have now had that reaction. I, however, have a talking stick that doubles as a Sharpie, so...
Yeah. No, I unfortunately the few people I have ran into have not asked for my autograph.
Yeah.
I didn't have a Sharpie on me, so it worked out. Yeah.
I don't believe you at all.
I was after I started carrying
All-
one.
All of
I
the
mean-
crap that you carry around every day, and you didn't have a Sharpie?
It was prior to being more proactive about carrying stuff.
My niece colors in my tattoos every time I see her. Is that like?
I mean,
signing an
that's pretty
autograph?
cool. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I've had people do that.
Was it your niece?
No, because I don't have any of those.
We should get one. Sounds like they're good at tattoos.
I don't
Yeah.
think that I can because then I'd need like a brother or sister, and I don't have all of those.
It just means
It's
you're
kind of a
personally
little late in
responsible.
life to kind of go like, "Hey, mom, dad, can you get on that thing?" It seems
I
like
mean,
a
with
lot
that
of work.
attitude.
Seems like a lot of work, and it's not going to happen.
You can adopt some. Just become friends with parents that have kids.
Yeah.
Well, I have no segues, and I've run out of ideas, and we've been going for a while, so I think we should not click that button because it makes a giant pop-up message that distracts me. We'll just put that away till later. I don't know what I did. Zoom to give me like a giant pop-up message, but I have no good segue.
Glad
So,
you clarified.
book club. What were you thinking I was doing?
Looking at porn, probably. Yeah.
Not while we're live. Also, stop watching porn. It's degenerate. And also, you're giving advertising revenue to people that don't deserve it. So,
You're not wrong. That's how you stop becoming
Yeah.
what is it? A
Yeah.
shitty person?
shittier less person?
Unshitty yourself.
Yeah.
Unshitty yourself. That's how you do it.
Get on the OnlyFans and give it to the content creators directly. That is the way to do that.
That's not what I'm saying. I mean, I get.
Soon you're gonna
this is a-
see Gavin with like a promo code and he's gonna be doing advertising.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
onlyfans.com
it's
slash
not the
Gavin.
only thing they have on there.
I gotta
Excuse
pay
me?
for gas somehow.
Yeah,
Apparently
I
that
actually,
porn isn't the only
we-
thing they have on OnlyFans.
We talked about this
Oh,
recently. I
shit.
saw an OnlyFans ad on Instagram for fitness stuff. Like you could like subscribe
there
to a
are-
personal trainer on or on OnlyFans.
Yeah,
And
there
I
are
didn't
people
follow the
that
link
use it-
because I didn't want that in my browser history. But like,
Well, I
there
would
are
assume
people
it's
that use it
yeah.
for legitimate things as well. It's just that like the
oh,
internet. in
okay. So
general-
you're calling pornography illegitimate now.
Well, I mean, the original
Savory
intention,
things.
the
Unsavory
original
versus savory.
intention of the platform
just-
was apparently for content creators that had fans to put stuff out that was only for their fans, and they would get
I'm
monetary.
Just giving
things
you
for
the
that.
gears. I don't really care that much.
But like
Or at
everything in
all.
life, pornography has dominated it because people are degenerate.
And because
Well, I
it's
mean-
like an amazing platform for creativity, even if the creativity is
Degenerate.
degenerate.
Buttholes.
Much like that's why the VHS won out over the Betamax, because the porn industry decided to go VHS and not Betamax, even though the Betamax was the superior platform.
I mean, that's true. Betamax was better. And
I feel
fucking
like
don't
this
even
is-
get me started about laser discs.
Guys, this is like content for your
Our
special
OnlyFans.
or your OnlyFans. Yeah.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah,
We
we're gonna get all
touched
kinds of
on it
emails about
briefly.
this show, yeah.
the last Monday of the month, Gavin and I should review the experience that we're going to have with the Venezuela Remote Military March. But instead, the last Monday of the month, as always, as it has been for the last 2 years, since COVID, since the plague, we're going to do book club. And this month for book club, we're doing George Orwell's Animal Farm.
Yeah. Have we figured out
And
a
if
book
you-
after that? Because we should probably do that.
We need to figure out a book for after that. We're not going to do that right now because it's me trying to close out the show. If you buy the book or anything else on Amazon after using our affiliate link, I get a small piece of Jeff Bezos's penis rocket.
Just the tip.
There's a... Never mind. We're moving right on. Come and hang out with us on Discord. Send us your feedback. Feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Discord link is in the show notes and on the website. The Discord is pretty active, I think. Other Andrew does an excellent job moderating it and trying to keep us off of CSIS watch lists. We should maybe go around the room. We'll, as is tradition, start with Liz and then go clockwise. Liz, closing comments, social medias, so on and so forth.
Closing comments. Well, thank you all
Shout
for coming
outs.
today. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, my buddy
Is this an OnlyFans thing?
I
don't know.
I think we're wearing too much clothes for that.
Nice.
Apparently, there's other uses for OnlyFans, Pierre.
Wow.
That's what we were told.
Not to what I've been told from Instagram.
Anyways, shout out to my buddy, Derek. He's watching the show. I hope that, that the content was sufficient. We're kind of goofy and I love it. My Instagram is Liz_Fawcett 9876 for anybody that wants to follow. Could be offensive, could be fun.
See all those protests that she's dragged into the small town.
We're getting pride banners in our small town. So
You get to complain about people dragging those into your small town too, or is that not okay?
Dragging. Sorry.
that was punny, Benny. Well, I mean, for a town of like 9,000 to 10,000 people, we're getting 30 banners that get to go up for 6 months of the year. We have
Only
three-
6
Here's a good
months?
question. Here's a
Yeah.
good question. How much of the population is openly gay? And I say openly because it's not fair to
Approximately
out
6 to
people.
7%.
More if they're Zoomers.
I have no idea. Like, I
don't
only
ask
know
what
a
that is.
few in my town anyway.
In an average in North America, it's about 6% that identify as somewhere on that spectrum.
I've been told we lost Pierre again. All right.
Yeah.
Pierre is
But you
out.
can follow Pierre on Off the Wall Customizing. Send him an email, get your custom t-shirts and hoodies and all kinds of fun stuff. It won't be Pierre answering your emails. It'll be his wonderful wife.
It's better for you. It's better for him. It's better for his wife.
Yeah.
All around, it works out.
Yeah.
Benny, what about you? Where can people find you? Shout outs, so on and so forth.
BennyLoose.ca, Facebook, BennyLoose.ca, Instagram, BennyLoose.ca. Come look us up.
So, once more for clarity's sake, Benny Lewis.
BennyLoose.ca.
Okay.
.ca.
You don't have the .biz.
Facebook. No.
You should get the
Facebook,
.biz.
Instagram.
Sense of business opportunity here, Andrew.
What's
Yeah, quick,
what's Ragnarok's address, email address again? Or not email, website again?
We use .ca because I think .biz is a funny joke, but other Andrew seems to think it's hilarious. Gavin, what about you?
I guess the best place to find me is Instagram, UrbexGTA. And if you want to find me in person, apparently you might be able to find me somewhere on the Bruce Trail in 2 weeks, possibly puking, possibly dead in a ditch, but hopefully not.
As long as you don't poop yourself, we're okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good on that one. I have not done that for a very long time, since I was a kid.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
If you've listened to this entire show, you deserve a discount code. If you're shopping at Ragnarok Tractor, use discount code Patriot at checkout. Literally take money out of my child's college fund.
So manipulative.
It's called marketing. I read it in a book.
Did you only read one page of that book?
Whatever. I do like our listeners, and I do like packing and shipping orders because it is like not mindless fun, but like actually packing orders is like an enjoyable low effort exercise for me.
Like untangling your headphone cable.
That's stressful.
No, I live in the current year and have wireless headphones, Benny.
So do I. But
Yeah?
no, it's the
Yeah.
small task that's easy to accomplish that you get the sense of accomplishment when you're
Yes. It is. And I do like packing
So-
orders because it is a very checklisty kind of a thing.
better analogy, given that we talked about book club, Benny, would be to be making your bed like Admiral McRaven.
done. Oh yeah, well that happens.
A
Anyway.
better
not everyone does
analogy, since we talked about your tribe and also book club, would be to be like our favorite gay Nazi, Jack Donovan, and find people who you want to form an exclusive men's only group with.
Or
So
women's
I think
only
it's
group, if that's your thing. Yeah.
That's probably not his thing.
Did we do his? Yeah, no, he's definitely not into that. Did we do his second book? Can't remember.
I think we've
We
done
should.
2 Jack Donovan books.
Yeah, no,
And now we've done
third
2
one.
George Orwell books. And we've done
Well, we
2
will
Jocko
be.
books. So we're gonna have to find some new people that would like to do their
Jordan
books.
Peterson.
I don't know if I can
Yes.
do another Jordan Peterson book.
I'm all about that. And also,
Does he have a
did,
children's book?
Did Professor Theodore
Jocko
Kaczynski
does.
write a second book? Because he should have.
No, but the first one was explosive.
We did give it a two-parter.
I mean, it was the longest book club we've ever done.
Yeah.
Gavin and I reading Professor Ted's book for like 2 weeks straight. Industrial society and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race.
It's not untrue.
Yeah, but okay, so here's the gig though. If you're gonna bitch about it, you can't bitch about the fact that there's certain privileges that we currently enjoy too.
I'm not saying there's not. I'm just also not saying that I wouldn't mind living in the woods with
Yeah.
like minimal amounts of technology because
He
I
was
find some
100%.
appeal in
Like-
that.
He was all
Yeah.
for leveraging the current technology to get the message out there.
I'm actually on board with the whole like, back to the basics kind of concept. I absolutely am. There's just so many people that they're like, oh man, the world sucks today. But they're pretty comfortable in this shitty world,
Well, those people should join us on our 50.
Yeah, do hard things with
Yeah.
people that you can tolerate.
Yeah. Don't do surrogate activities.
If-
Do real
okay.
activities.
Yeah,
If people
stop
wanna get
masturbating like a
into-
monkey.
Bonobo, right?
I'm 100% gonna go like this after that.
Okay, yeah, Liz has the talking stick. I'm sorry about the monkey masturbating thing. Go on.
How does somebody who wants to get into rucking get into rucking? Can they connect with you guys somehow and get
No.
in on this?
Email us at feedback at
I
or
mean,
listen to the back catalog of.
It
at least
really
a
is the
dozen,
back
yeah.
catalog. Go listen to the back catalog. I
yeah.
don't know the episode numbers. Search for Ruck in the search thing on the website. The episode is called Go Ruck Yourself. I think there's a follow-up episode to that. Also, we did a guest spot.
Yeah.
Gavin and I did a guest spot on Imitation CPP on Canadian Prepper podcast where we talked about getting involved in rucking.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah,
a
you
lot.
guys-
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just asked that because I do know people that have asked that question, and I personally am not as into it as you guys are. And you guys
I
talk
think-
about it like every week because you're in the middle of this challenge.
It's like when we
so-
got into keto. We all
Yeah.
did keto a lot for a while. Gavin still does. I
Yeah.
like beer way too much to be keto.
It's all about the bear claw now.
pasta is addictive.
What?
Just have the willpower,
Keto.
Benny. You can
You
do
say
it.
hostas? Like the flour?
Pasta.
Oh,
It
pasta.
smells so
I thought you
good.
said hostas are addictive. I'm like, I guess they're a
can
nice
eat them.
plant, but
You can
okay.
eat them. You can eat them.
I'm not saying
They-
you can't
they
eat them.
probably
You can
have
eat
carbs,
dandelions.
though.
I just choose not to.
But you just got to have the willpower, Benny.
Yeah.
Read more
No.
Jocko. Read more Jocko. But yeah, pasta.
Sorry,
Jujitsu.
Yeah.
It's a kid's
where
book.
did we-
Jocko is the one with the kids book.
Jocko does have a kid's book. He has several
Yeah.
children's books.
Yeah.
He also has an adult themed novel. That sounded
Nice.
wrong. This is like when I talked to Liz about the grapes thing earlier.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, he has a novel that is written for. I was going to say normal people, but I'm not making it better. He has a not children's novel.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's okay, but it's not great. It's weird.
Yeah. Gavin
It's
says
weird.
it's weird, and I haven't read it yet because I don't want to ruin the illusion.
Oh,
It's
fair
weird.
enough. Fair enough.
If you're gonna do it,
Anyway.
do the audiobook because at least it's him reading it, and that gets you jazzed. But like otherwise, yeah, carry on.
This has been super weird. The outro was taking us way longer than it should have. I have enjoyed this week's meandering conversation. I do have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. We couldn't figure out how to fit Rod into the new format, which we are obviously still tweaking because it didn't quite.
I
We
mean,
got
he was
into the not main
Yeah.
topic within 5 minutes, but we never got to the news, which,
And he was supposed
I'm
to
actually
be part
okay
of the
with.
news and join us, and like it just yeah.
well, there was a CCFR update that I really wanted to cover, but we just. Next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
Maybe.
For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.